Bills at the New York Jets. Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers. Did I say Andrew?
You did.
Aaron Rodgers coming in at home, first home game here, and the Bills are favored by 2.5 on the road against the Jets. Remember, the Jets did beat Buffalo last year with Zach Wilson. That was the Zach Wilson turning point.
We are disrespecting Aaron Rodgers right out of the gate. You know how he doesn't like that.
What?
They're not favored.
Oh, is he mad about that?
Who knows, but he should be. If I was him, I would be.
Oh.
Man's mad at a lot of things. If you can't find a way to get mad about not being favored at home in your opening week.
Nobody believes in the Jets.
That's what, exactly.
Nobody believes in them. So I tweeted this out yesterday, and I believe the Tuesday morning narrative will be one of the following. Either Aaron Rodgers, the cliff has hit, the Jets wasted this offseason, he's too old. Aaron Rodgers, too old, Jets are terrible. Or the Buffalo Bills, the Super Bowl window has been slammed shut. Never, ever to be opened again. The Bills, they blew it. They're done. It's over. The Jets are the new kings of the AFC East.
Yeah, okay, because that last part is, like, if that's the way this game goes, nobody is going to be talking about the Bills. The Bills will barely get a mention if the Jets roll and win that week one.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, there's going to be a narrative for both teams somewhere.
It will be Aaron Rodgers and the Jets are going to the Super Bowl, and by the way, the Bills might be toast. But, like, to hell with that. The point is, Rodgers and the Jets, that's the focus.
So what's it going to be on Tuesday morning here, Sam?
I mean, I'm not buying into either one of those extremes, but
we don't do that here. We are not going to do that on the PFF NFL podcast.
But I'm buying the Jets. Like, I think they're going to be for real. That defense is nasty. I don't know if DJ Reed is right and they can rival the 85 Bears, but it should be damn good. And I think the offense will work. Like, I have concerns about that offensive line. I think that's still a weakness. But as long as Garrett Wilson is out there, I think the passing game is going to be good. I think the run game can function as well with Breece Hall, Dalvin Cook. I think their offense will look good. I think the Jets are going to be good.
One of the big questions for the Bills is Tremaine Edmonds leaving a void at linebacker. Tremaine Edmonds, he was one of those guys. I think maybe the hype was a little bit before the production, but he was very productive last year. Mm-hmm. Very good. He goes to the Chicago Bears. And so linebacker, it's been Matt Milano, who's awesome at covering running backs, and the battle between Terrell Bernard and Tyrell Dodson. And I think they claimed Christian Kirksey and threw him on the practice squad. So linebacker, we don't talk about linebackers a ton on this show here, but that's like your big question mark on the Bills defense. That and cornerback 2 opposite Tre'Davious White, which is an annual concern. Last year's, 6th rounder, Christian Benford wins the job over last year's 1st rounder, Kair Elam. That's not always a great sign. I mean, good for Benford, not good for Elam and the Bills.
He's still there.
And I know he's still there as a backup. Those kind of holes, right? When you talk about Dalvin Cook running the ball, you talk about Aaron Rodgers and how he's going to probably feed Garrett Wilson. I don't think you're going to see a ton of matchup. Tre'Davious White matching up with Garrett Wilson, but we'll see if that's where the Bills go. But that's just something to keep an eye on. The Bills on the defensive side of the ball have a few of those question marks, plus Von Miller out until week 5, of course. So you got to rely on some other guys up front.
That's the big thing to me. We know what difference Von Miller made to this defense when he was there last season and what happened when he wasn't there. Now they're deliberately keeping him under bubble wrap for a while, which I think is the correct decision. It doesn't matter if he's there in week 1. It matters that he's there in week 1 of the playoffs, assuming you make it that far, or week 17, like when you need him to get to the playoffs. But without him, you're left with the same problem, right? Which is, can Gregory Rousseau essentially be Von Miller and create the pass rush by himself? Can Ed Oliver take a step forward and be a dominant pass rusher, not just a good guy? Can Leonard Floyd combine with Rousseau and create, an aggregate pass rush that can offset the loss of Von Miller? Basically, can that defensive front function at the level it was at when Von Miller was there and not the level it was at when he wasn't?
We get to see some Stephon Diggs, Sauce Gardner matchups, which are always fun. Get to see how Deontay Hardy mixes into the offense as a deep threat. Get to see Dalton Kincaid for the Bills.
Excited by that.
So, there's a lot of potential excitement for the Bills. Again, I've been saying all offseason, let's not – I don't know who's talking about it, Super Bowl windows, and it just doesn't feel good for the Bills because they've been close. They've been 13 seconds away from beating the Chiefs, and they've been in the AFC Championship, and they were at home against the Bengals in the snow. Mm-hmm. and they lost those games. But they're still good. They're still capable of making the move. I wonder with the Jets, are there any growing pains for their offense? Aaron Rodgers being on the same page with his receivers. It looked like Garrett Wilson and him are on the same page. They're fine, but the other guys all know Rodgers, so there probably shouldn't be those issues, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. The only question, I think, when they first made the Rodgers deal was Rodgers has generally taken some time to develop that chemistry and that telepathy with his number one receiver. And he's usually had the time because they've overlapped with the last number one receiver. This is different. He's thrown in there right away, and it's like Garrett Wilson is already good. Make it work. Make it happen now. And it's only been training camp and preseason, but it's looked like it's there. I mean, the touchdown they had in preseason, I think, is a great example of chemistry in action. He immediately identified he was one-on-one on the outside, and not only was he happy to throw the ball, but when you look at the way he thread the needle, like he sort of, it looked like a guy trying to sort of land a ball in like a carnival event, where it was like this little touch, let's just drop it into a bucket, over a cornerback who was there in pretty tight coverage, just had his back turned to him. Like that's the kind of chemistry that Rodgers had with Devontae Adams, that he had with Jordy Nelson. And he seems, at least based off small sample size, to have already decided that either he has it with Garrett Wilson or is at least willing to just take that gamble every time, which is the only real important thing. We know he's willing to do that with Allen Lazard as well. Lazard just doesn't have the chops that Garrett Wilson does. But, I mean, I think this should work.
All right, man. It's pick time. Fired up for Monday Night Football. This is going to be a great start to the season. Bills at the Jets. Bills favored by 2.5. Where are you going?
I think the Jets will pull it. I mean, I guess it is a shock week one. I think they win.
Josh Allen had those turnover-worthy play problems last year, led the league.
Yeah.
And they were weird ones against the Jets. I mean, the Jets' defense looks fantastic.
It's really good, yeah.
But he also just had unforced errors against the Jets. Mm-hmm. I don't know what to make of those. You just assume that type of stuff's going to happen. He had some weird unforced errors, not pressure related, not coverage related, just didn't see guys.
And Josh Allen generally, I mean, he's played amazingly the last 2 years. But those 2 years haven't necessarily looked the same, Like not sure 3 years he's played amazing. But last year wasn't the same as the previous two. He had the highest big-time throw rate he's ever had last season. 7.4% is nuts. Like, that is absolutely balling out with big plays left, right, and center. 44 of them. But he also had a turnover-worthy play rate, which spiked by a percentage point and was a lot closer. Like, 4.2% is higher than year two Josh Allen, when we were sort of still saying this guy's actually not good yet. So he's really leaned into this like wild variance type of play while still playing at a really high level. But you've got that on top of this idea of everyone kind of acknowledging that they need to pull a little bit off his plate, certainly from a rushing point of view, to try and, and extend his career and make sure he's not trying to play hero ball every single play. I get the feeling that Josh Allen is kind of right on that knife edge of trying to do too much at all times. And last year, maybe he took a half step above, the wrong side of that line. And if he can pull back this year and take a half step the right side of that line, that's exactly where you want him to be.
We've said that like the last 2 years.
But I think he's been
a little bit too much on his plate.
And I think he's been right on that line the last couple of years. Yeah. And Buffalo's big task, really, with Josh Allen, the quarterback, is to try and identify exactly where that line is, go right up to it, and stay this side of it.
With Osiris Torrance coming in at guard, James Cook, Damian Harris running the ball. Will they run the ball a little bit more? Anyway, all that said, you're taking the Jets. I'm taking Buffalo. Still buying in that Buffalo is one of the best teams in the league. And I think the Jets will get there at some point, but I don't know if I'm ready to buy the hype just yet.
Okay.
So give me Buffalo covering the 2.5.